Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I am speaking with Mark Parsons, the founder and executive director of New Bedford Research and Robotics. And this is a little bit unusual for us. This is a nonprofit that I think will be of great interest to those of you at companies who are looking for new ideas and models for how to really engage with your community, engage children in the community, provide educational opportunities, build relationships, partner with government officials and local businesses. Anyway, Mark has got it all. He's a fascinating guy, and I am honored to be speaking with him today. Mark, thanks for joining me today.
What a generous introduction. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it.
Welcome. Welcome. We're going to do a little short discussion today just to get you guys interested. New Bedford Research and Robotics. We'll give you all the information at the end so you can look it up yourself. But today we wanted to talk with Mark a little bit, have him give us a little bit of a background of what he's doing, what his goals are, what the impact is, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how companies can get involved, what their role can be, and essentially how all of you out there can participate and help Mark continue to grow his vision. So, Mark, thanks again for joining us. Why don't we start with you telling us a little bit about NBRR, your goals, an overview of what you do, and maybe a little bit about the impact that you've seen so far.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to err on the side of being short, and you can ask where you're interested. So,
Okay.
New Bedford Research and Robotics is a 501(c)(3) nonprofit. We're located in New Bedford, Massachusetts, and New Bedford is one of several gateway cities. These are basically post-industrial urban centers in the Northeast or in Massachusetts, where you would say like Providence or Boston or New York is not a second tier post industrial city or a gateway city. It's like opportunity presents itself here, and I think Tom, it's really important to acknowledge that the model that NBRR is built on is the predecessor model that I founded in New York City in the Brooklyn Navy Yard in 2014. It was really a spin out of academia where we're learning the potential impact and opportunities that new technologies present in engaging communities. And so there's a lot of learning there that is refined and optimized around specific. It's not a like kind of model that you would replicate exactly in every gateway city. I think the model needs to tailor itself specifically to opportunities, for instance, that are presented in the problems, and the challenges, and the upsides that are presented in a place like New Bedford. But the simplest way to represent what we do is that we put incredible technology, frontier technology, industrial robotics, and underwater robotics at the center, and we populate an ecosystem of programs around those technologies, which includes education, community engagement, research, which is like in-house research and also university, as well as startup support and industry R&D. And you bring all these different interested parties together around technology and creativity, and that is what constitutes the environment here at NBRR.
And tell us a little bit more about how you pull all those parts together. So, from a corporate perspective, a company obviously is all companies are looking into community engagement. A lot of companies are involved in education. Many of them are, supporting startups. So, what do you think the best role is for a company to be involved with an organization like yours?
Great question. Different companies are going to come here for different reasons. Just hypothetically, some companies are going to come here because they want insights into how the world of AI and robotics is going to change what they do, impact what they do,
Hmm.
or disrupt what they do. So they might be interested in learning what the cutting edge looks like. Another company might come in because they want to support our STEM program, and we've trademarked STEAM, STEA to the third power M. And the three A's, the A to the third power, is about the arts or creativity. It's about accessibility to extraordinary technology, and it's about the applied condition of learning and doing and iterating in a very scientific methodology, where we have these STEAM kids come in and do this work, and they're literally elbow to elbow with startups, university, and industry in the same space using these extraordinary tools. And so they're learning, but they're also, I think the most important thing actually is a sense of belonging in a space like that. Like, oh, I can participate in the future. I have a role here. We all face imposter syndrome or a model that is foisted upon us by our environment or generations. And we all have to learn that we can play a role. And so we do an extraordinary job here with our STEAM program, as well as our workforce development programs, which have just exploded over the past year here as we prepare people to get into renewable and blue tech. So a corporation might be interested because of the impact we have, or the knowledge and the kind of new research that we're doing as well.
Well, let's talk about that impact a little bit. Can you, you've been doing this for about 10 years in New Bedford, is that right?
That's correct.
Can you talk a little bit? I know.
No, 10 years total, 3 years in New Bedford. So
that's right.
We've had extraordinary growth,
right?
But we've only been located in New Bedford for 3 years.
Right. So you're probably, a lot of this impact takes a while to really sort of see and measure, but can you give us some insight to some of the successes you've had or some of the impacts that might be of interest to companies too?
Yeah, I think what was crucial coming. So I'm from here, so I knew where I was coming. I actually did a TED talk I was invited to do a TED talk in New Bedford in 2016, and that's when I was like, ding! Oh, I get it. We could go to Detroit with this thing that we're doing, or keep growing it in Brooklyn. But how do we have the most impact? How can we create the most change? And it's not the Brooklyns and the Detroits. It's we have numerous post-industrial urban centers with, that are sort of backwaters, right? So like, how can we activate the latent potential of these smaller, New Bedford's 100,000 people, these smaller urban centers, which are kind of left out, right? And we do that. You sort of have to work both ends of the spectrum simultaneously, right? You sort of have to do a top-down thing, but in order for that to be valid, you've got to do a bottom-up thing. And when you're a young nonprofit with no money, like we were 3 years ago, the bottom-up part is even more important than the top-down, because you need to create trust in the community. So somebody comes from New York with a robot and says, like, we're going to do these cool things. And most people are associating that with like robots steal jobs from workers, right? And so you have to counter that with, no, we can create agency, create creativity, and create futures for young learners through responsible programming and learning around, say, industrial robots or digital manufacturing technologies, like a robot represents. And that's what we were able to do. And I think we really started, we were so lucky to carry just enough of a brand here that a foundation, the Siegel Family Endowment, gave us the seed to start. They gave us $300,000, which felt like $300 million to me at the time. And that was just enough to get us going. And we created a partnership with the university, which gave us a space. And we created relationships with the public school system, little seeds that have grown since. Because if you do these things with integrity and you are clear in your mission and you don't deviate from that mission, and I think that's the thing that I'm most proud of today is, like, people who I talked to 3 years ago pulled me aside after we did a State of the City last week, and they said, you are doing exactly what you told me you were going to do 3 years ago. Before there's anything, you said, this is what we're doing, and you're doing exactly that. And we've checked all these boxes in the ecosystem. And that's crucial, because otherwise you're chasing dollars rather than delivering around the mission. And you're going to create mistrust or distrust because you say you're this and then you're doing that. So it's actually just good communication integrity is so crucial. And when you touch one kid in a STEAM program, that's great for that kid, and maybe they go on to be more successful in high school or college or get a job, but they also go home and they talk to their sibling or their parent or their caretaker. And one of the things we do is make sure that the parents, the caretakers, and the siblings come in to our STEAM program so that we can kind of spread those seeds and spread that word. Because what we want to do ultimately is, yeah, we want to upskill the individual child, the young learner scholar. But what we really want to do is have the entire community see itself differently in the mirror. When this community looks in the mirror, we want the community to say, we do that. These are the kinds of things we do here, right? Like that's possible here because we can create a collective perception in the self-image, then that betters everybody here.
Yeah. Well, what I love about this is that, I've worked with a lot of companies over the years, and I think many of them are a little risk averse with startups. So the fact that you got some family foundation money, you've got this thing going, you're at a level where I can imagine having some corporate funders and supporters come in could be really helpful. What's the next stage, and what can a company? Let's talk a little bit about what companies can do, especially if they're not based in New Bedford or even nearby. I can imagine a lot of companies might want to support this kind of model to both learn from it, show impact, and maybe figure out how to replicate it in some of the regions that they might be located in. But what do you need now, and what can a company do for you now?
Wow, you just asked three really good questions. So let me attempt to respond to that responsibly.
Okay.
I think, first of all, I'm very happy to give it away, right? Like if a company's interested in doing this and replicating this, call me up. Let's chat. I want to help you get there. So, and this team wants to help you get there. So this is, I just want to remove the transactional condition, right? Like we want this to work because we're after systems change. We're after how can we better the world? And that sounds lofty or maybe even naive or arrogant. I don't mean it that way. I mean, how can we actually make this a dignified existence for all of us and get more people to the table? And especially in the face of technology, right? We need to have drivers that are not top down, kind of drivers for how technology impacts all of us, or we all become victims, right? So we want to empower the young people and young people, whether they're STEM learners or startups that like maybe are ethically minded startups. So that's the backdrop. Happy to share whatever knowledge and experience that we have here with you if you're empowered to make change. So that being the kind of foundational level, we are at NBRR, we are going through transition from being a very early startup to a really successful early nonprofit startup that has literally national and international attention for doing what we're doing because it is different. And in that transition, just this morning, it's crazy what's happening here in the very positive side. And we're bringing this new building up. So we've got a 30,000 square foot campus here. And we have finally started. It's taken forever because of the funding sources that we have, federal grant and state grant dollars. But we're starting our $3 million renovation of our new headquarters. So we're transitioning from this early startup to a mature, scaled version, which has opportunities in blue tech, in renewable energies, and we even new materials and smart materials. We are really at the edge. So we're making all these changes around sustainability and energy and empowering these startups, but we're also growing into this new building. So like all of a sudden, we are maybe a brand that corporations might want to associate with as we undergo that growth and are even more on the map. And I think I don't think there's one answer. I think we would have to have a discussion. What is your mission? What are you after? What interests you? And then to align those values in your mission with what it is that we do in this broad spectrum ecosystem that we have here. And I'm confident that we can do that.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good answer. And again, I do think you are, I mean, you said it, you're at a maturing stage that I think is perfect for a lot of companies to get involved, even in a small way, even if it's just learning more about what you do and learning from it and in a big way replicating it. Um, I want to be conscious of our time here. But I want to give you an opportunity to provide any final thoughts. So we're gonna, our goal is to help companies around their CSR, ESG, and sustainability goals, and to learn about new programs and ideas that might be relevant to them and their employees. Um, so this has been great. But are there any final thoughts, anything you want to tell us that you haven't told us already that people should know about what you're doing and where you're
Yeah.
going?
Yeah. First, I want to thank you and any interested companies that are doing the work that is represented through CSR for doing that. And it's hard, and as soon as it's formulaic, it's really difficult to have really strong impact in meaningful ways that's sustainable. And so thank you is the first thing I want to say. The other thing that I want to add to that is that I think, yes, we're about technology, robotics, and like really, there's lots of bragging rights around the technology and the cool stuff we do. But I think that ultimately it's about humans. It's about getting different people to rub up against each other in those interstitial moments across the ecosystem. And what I mean by that is, people work with the people they know, and opportunities present themselves when you can blur the lines between sectors or stratifications. And that's what makes us work. That's what makes our work effective, is we can have industry R&D and startups here that end up, we have a very healthy internship program. So people come in to learn and then they get hired. So it's like, how do you bridge between these different, sectors or these different stratifications? And we essentially, through technology, have created the bridges. So whatever it is that your companies are doing, if you can kind of erode the barriers that are the transition barriers, which allow people to either upskill or get the next job or do what's next, I think eroding those barriers in a healthy way is like incredibly, incredibly powerful for people who need your support.
I lied. I have one more question.
Okay.
You started by talking about the kind of place that New Bedford is, and I think you called it a gateway community, a gateway city. Can you just leave us on a high moment here and tell us a little bit about how the city has benefited and what you're seeing? I know you're seeing success with your work, but I can imagine that the kids that you're touching and the parents of those kids and people who are in New Bedford are feeling maybe a little bit more hope about their city really thriving and succeeding. Anything you can tell us in that regard?
Yeah, I think one of the, thank you. I think one of the things about this city is it was, uh, uh, it didn't even believe it. The city almost didn't believe the positive stories because for decades, it's just about to get there. Something great is going to happen at that city. Something great's going to happen, and it always seems to get knocked down again. So it's almost up against that reputation to make change here in New Bedford in particular. And I bet that's not unusual in a lot of gateway cities, a lot of post-industrial urban centers. Yes, if it's all ships rise with the tide, it is. I think we have to look at the world of philanthropy and the world of impact work differently than we used to and less competitively. And um, if we get into a conversation in the future, we can share more about the specific and strategic intent around avoiding some of that competitive stuff. We're giving it away. We're not being transactional. We're saying yes to everything, and that everyone's shoulders seem to go down, and that changes the way others are doing business. I don't think NBR is the only entity doing that here. I think there's a right place, right time. Whether it's the new train to Boston, which is connecting us, NVRR's participation in the Ocean Tech Hub, a federal designation that is a cross-border designation that's east and west. So if the train is north-south, Boston to New Bedford, east-west is the Ocean Tech Hub. Wind, which we all know what's going on with renewable energy right now, but it's not going away. The curve might flatten for a minute, but it's not going away. Nor is aquaculture. I think when you get enough pulling in the same direction by enough people and organizations, it becomes believable and you can make change. And you need people to believe in change. And I think we're doing a good job of that.
Great, inspiring words. Let me leave this with you telling everybody how to get in touch with you. Obviously, they can go to your website, but why don't you tell them what your website address is and any other ways to get in touch with you?
My name is Mark Parsons. You can get in touch with me through the web. You can get in touch with Tom. Tom knows how to get in touch with me. So if you know Tom, you can certainly reach through the website. And it's long, it's cumbersome, but it's obvious. It's researchandrobotics.org. It's spelled out, researchandrobotics.org. I really hope that we can share what we're doing with you and help you get wherever it is that you're trying to go.
That's great. Well, we've just scratched the surface, so we'll have to do another one. But Mark, thank you for your time, and let's continue the conversation at a later date.
My pleasure. Thank you, Tom.
Take care.